free.
Am I gonna sit there and argue with you over we had steak 2 days ago, I want chicken?
B.
It's gonna be spicy all of the time. I don't care if I'm single or not.
C.
I think that the foundation is how you were brought up.
3 Black Chicks on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hello everyone, you are listening to 3BC, 3 Black Chicks, and here in the studio I have with me Miss Leah Douglas Wooten, owner of Progressive Realty Services, Sherica Hymes, owner of Polished Consulting, as well as Beverly Robertson, principal of Trust Marketing, and incoming interim president of the Memphis Chamber. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Did you know that each year American Express actually does a State of the Woman-Owned Business report? And some of the things that I pulled out is, and women-owned businesses grew an impressive 58% from 2007 to 2018. And the number of Black-owned women businesses grew a stunning 164%. That's nearly 3 times the rate of everyone else. But although we're growing at an impressive rate, our revenues are below everyone else. And I know some of that we control. Some of it we don't control. But there are certain challenges that we face. And they're each different, because we are all different. But share with our listeners, what are some of the challenges that you faced in business? And if you could change some things or do some things a little bit better along the way, what would they be? Leah, let's start with you.
Oh my God. The first thing I did when I started out in business was to hire all my friends. I'm embarrassed to even say.
Well, that's what you knew, though.
The second thing I did was start hiring people out of what they needed instead of what I needed.
Okay.
So if you came to me and say, hey, I'm having kind of hard time and I need a job, I would say, okay, I'm going to help you and give you a job. So, I made all the mistakes. Any mistake that could be made in business, I made it. I listened to you about when the businesses started in 2007 that we increased. That's when the market crashed. Market crashed in 2007. It crashed on me like it crashed on everybody else. So the real estate market, of course, crashed first. And out of that, I went straight where I always go, to the source. I said, okay, Lord, I got a 7-year-old. What we going to do here? Ain't nobody buying no houses. He said, that's okay. We going to open a property management company. I said, we are God. How we gonna do that? We don't have no money. He said, listen to me. I went straight to Google, true story. I Googled property management company. It said, in order to have a property management company, you need an escrow account. I got that. And you need to be a broker. I am that. I leveraged my relationships with the past builders that I had, and I built out of the ashes Progressive Property Management. And I think that's what all Black women did. Oh, it was amazing to me. I just kind of said it was amazing to me that out of nothing, I had to close my business, my house foreclosed. I went home, I had to rent a house, and I opened my business in the upstairs of my rental property. In upstairs. And so I'm not surprised that Black women that it didn't just happen to me. So when you throw us in a hole, we start figuring out ways to get out. We start building us a ladder inside the hole, and that's all I did. And then just from that day to this one, I've been managed to get out the hole and flourish again. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
Okay. Miss Bear, what are some of the challenges that you face, things that you would do differently?
One of the things that we did when we started Trust is we went to the bank and we mistakenly thought that because we had both very successful careers, background, great education.
We being you and your husband, Howard.
Howard, exactly, thank you. That we would be able to get a loan for the business. Well, one of the things I learned that banks don't loan money to people who need it. they loan money to businesses that don't. And so when you're entering the business profession and you have an entrepreneurial business, one of the things I learned is that you need to come to the table with your own money and your own resources. And it just depends on how you choose to get those. We invested our own money in our own business, and we were fortunate enough to have had the resources to be able to do that. Sometimes people will borrow money from their friends or their family members to start a business, but I think one of the things that you need to understand is when you think about the notion of going into business, then you need to think about how you will fund that business. You need to think about the expenses, both fixed and variable expenses that are associated with that business. You got to think about the magnitude of the staff that you might need to help you run that business. And I think a lot of that should be defined in a business plan that you create for the business. And too many times businesses don't have business plans, don't have sort of a strategic far out perspective. They have a very short-term tactical perspective for their business. The other thing that I will tell you that we did that I thought was a mistake is we grew our business too fast. We added employees. We added, more space in our business. At one point, we had a whole floor of a building.
I remember.
You were there with us when we had a whole floor of the building. Yes. But what that meant is that you got to keep making payroll, baby. You got to keep hitting it. You got to keep pitching the business. And if cash is not flowing, then the reality for me was that I've got to pay these people who have worked for me. So even if McDonald's check doesn't come in when it's supposed to, or First Tennessee's check doesn't come in when it's supposed to, I'm going to pay these people because I'm not going to have credibility be an issue for my business. So what did that mean? I had to go into my personal resources to be able to make a sacrificial donation to the company or loan to the company so that Jay wouldn't look at me crazy when her light bill was due.
And it's funny, I'm smiling because, Howard tried to fire me. And I started crying. And he stopped. He said, no, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. And he did. He tried to let me go.
Because he knew what the dollars looked like on the bottom line.
He tried, and I
this was
started
not a
crying.
performance issue.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
And we'll find something for you to do. And then we were able to slowly phase that. I went to part-time at one point. And then at the same time I was building my business.
So that was
I was able to go ahead and leave and be like, you know what, I'm good. I can support myself.
And that's what we're able
I'm
to
thankful.
do for each other.
I'm thankful that you all loved me enough.
We did.
That's right. That's right.
Because we didn't want you to die. Right. Because we weren't able to do the things that we were previously able to do. Mm-hmm. But I think those are very serious concerns that businesses need to be thoughtful about. And especially when other people, I realized one day, it struck me like a ton of bricks. I've got all these families depending on me.
Responsible for you.
I've got to make this business work. I've got to make it successful because your life depends on how successful I am in being able to generate the resources. So it made us think a lot about the decisions that we made and growth in the business. And then when you do have to make the tough decisions, how that's going to impact other people. How do we do it in a way that leaves you whole and other people whole? And that's something that companies don't think about.
Right.
But when you're an entrepreneur and you're in business,
right,
you think differently about it. You're sensitive to those needs. So personally.
That's good. I know how loving and kind and benevolent and nurturing. Trust Marketing, you and Howard, and Karen Moore. Let's throw her in there. She took good care of me as well. Can be. Now, Sherica, how long has Polish Consulting been in business?
For 3 years. Almost 3.
And you recently left your corporate job.
I did. The founder of my dreams. That's what I like to call them. The founder of my dreams. Because
to do your business full time.
To do my business full time, right?
Awesome.
And what I will say is timing is absolutely important. It was very important for me because just like our other guests, I truly, like Leah, I am fully transparent. A single mother, and I hate to say that because I have so much support, so I don't know if that's right, but a single mother, I think, for all intents and purposes of the definition. A single mother, but also of an adult son, but wanting to make sure that my son is able to land softly in the world and not just be like, okay, you're this age, now go out and be great.
Right.
No, wanting to be able to allow him to make some mistakes in the world, and then having some health challenges myself and being responsible, quite frankly, if you ever saw Soul Food, the real version, like I'm Terry, right? So I'm the Terry. So I could not really walk away from that responsibility in my family unit and not know what that meant. So could I have done polished and walked away from corporate America when I started the business? Yes, but I had to be considerate of the other hats that I wore, and I wanted to be responsible. But I used that time to allow corporate America to be the funder of my dreams. And I don't think smartly that people do that. If you are going to launch out, that was one of the things that I did right. Here are several things. One of the several things that I did wrong is all the money that I spent on marketing material, because I thought that's the thing I had to do. Total waste of money, because we are in a digital environment. I didn't need all those cards. I didn't need all of those trifolds. I didn't need all of that stuff. It was beautiful, but really I was able to leverage my relationships. I'm not saying it's not necessary. I'm saying that
at the marketing people.
I know, no. but I love my marketing relationships. I am in no way suggesting it's not necessary, because it has served me well. What I am saying is the amount of dollars and cents that I use on just stacking those things up without thinking strategically like how I was going to disperse those. My new strategy is now, when I have something that requires a marketing campaign, to really set aside a marketing budget for that campaign and only order what I need, knowing full well that I can go back and get another order of it, as time spent, because things expire, you refresh your brand, all of those things. Sure. So I did not think smartly about that. And then secondly, because I believe in a premium product, working with folks that are close to me, that are well skilled and able, but not clearly defining what the relationship was supposed to be and the deliverables on those things. I did not do that well, which is bizarre because I'm a contracts person. But somehow or another, in those close friendships, I didn't do that. And that was my fault, not theirs. That was my fault. And so those are some of the things that I messed up on. And more recently, one of the things that I've had to accept is that it is not the highest and best use of my time to be spending this time on administrative things, that I need to outsource that. But I have been so timid about doing that because I'm like, oh Lord, I'm gonna be responsible for somebody. But the happy medium for that for me is to have a virtual assistant and to be able to really earmark those dollars for a virtual person, so that way I'm only paying for the time that I need. Yep.
And I think you made a really good point. A lot of young people want it all right now, and I think that's fine. But I think that sometimes, even if you are not totally happy, if you have a bigger goal, I think you have to set goals for yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah. So as your life changes and you get older and you get more mature, I think you should, say, well, my goal was here. Now it's changed. So I think as you grow in business, and I agree with Sherica in that corporate America funded. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that we were going to go into business at the time. But I was always a saver and an investor. And so we actually were able to fund it. I have a son now who has been in 5 major corporations in fairly middle to senior management positions, but his ultimate goal is to become an entrepreneur and run his own thing. So he has gained experience at P&G, Alberto Culver, LG, Coca-Cola, working for Sean P. Diddy Combs in New York, lifestyle brands. But ultimately, he knows that at the end of the day, he wants to go out on his own. So he has worked toward being able to go out on his own.
And cultivated those relationships.
And he can go back to P&G. He can go back to Alberto Culver. He can go back to those national brands and then use those because of the relationships that have been established. So there's great value even in, whatever. If you can look at it as, I'm going to do this for a finite period of time. But while I'm doing it, I'm going to go on this cruise too now. I got to have my me time too.
Enjoy your life. Most definitely.
Because don't just stress yourself out, have health conditions, go crazy because you're working too hard. Enjoy life as you live it, because you never know when it's your last day.
Exactly.
And what you don't want to do is get to a point in your life where you regret that you worked so hard and you never did anything for yourself.
Right. I mean, there's a saying, I never met a man who on his deathbed said, I wish I spent more time at the office.
Absolutely.
I wish I spent more time with my family, my kids, my wife.
Vacation,
I had
traveling.
taken more vacations, learn to do a hobby I've always wanted to do, those things. But on this this question I'm going to share as well. I am the president of Put It in Writing, professional writing service, and PR. And I think the things that I have done wrong is I don't think big enough. I don't. I tend to think very small. These are my bills. Can I make enough to pay these bills? And those are some of the things that I'm working on. I also don't leverage my relationships the way I should. I know a lot of people in this city.
You do.
I do. And because I'm one of those people, I hate to ask people to do anything for free because I may not be able to afford to pay you right now. But true enough, if I leverage those relationships, perhaps I can bring in some money and pay them down the line. So those are actually two of the things in 2019. And Sherica, I may be calling you.
She's open.
In 2019 that I want to work bigger on, putting together better and bigger business plans and leveraging those wonderful people that I have been able to build relationships with.
And that's very important, Jay. And that's funny that she says she's afraid to ask. But Jay is so good to everybody the time.
She is.
She just,
awesome.
I learned, because I'm older, that it's okay to ask when you need help. Jay called me. She was cruising. I was slick hating. She was cruising, and she called me a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, I got an issue. Can you handle it?" Yeah, we're not talking about any money. This is what I do. She's a friend of mine. So no, I'm not going to charge her to do anything because we're friends. And at some point, I can call Jay. And until we get to that, you got to be happy with yourself to be able to say, "Hey, I just met Beverly. But before I leave here, I'm going to ask Beverly for something." Because now I've built a relationship with Beverly and Sherica. I've got 3 new friends.
You sure do. Come on.
That's right. That's right.
And what I would like to say is this. It's okay that you to acknowledge authentically where you are and to say, these are the folks that are going to help me see my blind spots. And I will tell you this. When I started my business, my time spent while I was leveraging the founder of my dreams in corporate America, one of the leadership courses that I took at a local leadership place here, I met so many people who owned businesses who also gave me the courage, right, to go ahead and start my business and stop moonlighting. But they lended their talents to me because they believed in Sherica and they believed in my dream and my ability to do what I said I was going to do. And they have gone with me along the way. So in the beginning, they just gave me their services, right? And I respected them so much. I was like so gracious and so thankful for it. But after that, I've been able to actually now employ them and contract their services and pay them at a premium rate for the services that they provide, and also turn them on to other people and turn other people on to their businesses. So help their businesses grow exponentially. So you know people, and you may know people that people in your circle want to know, and then they're willing to exchange that you don't know. It's so much out here for you.
You know what? I will say this to you, Jay, and just keep this in mind. You have not because you ask not. And I have always believed that. That's what the Bible says, and I believe that word is true.
I do too.
And my life is a living example of that. You have not because you ask not. And you'd be surprised at how many people love you and would do for you even if you could afford to pay them. They do it for you for free. Right. They would do it for free for you.
I will.
Because you've been kind to so many people. And many of us don't even think about that. But people are really, people love you that you don't even know. People watch you that you don't even understand, see you. Because I have been many, many places and people have come up to me and said things to me. And I have just been really humbled by that. I really have, because I'm thinking, well, what are people? Anyway, I'm telling you, use what you got to get what you need, Jay, because you got it.
And I think what we really are talking about here is relationships.
That's all.
And really talking about really cultivating your relationships. And when we say that, to just strip that down to the most granular state, be good to people, be authentically you. Do what you say you're going to do. Show up for people, not just when you want something. Learn how to serve. I'm a big believer in serving. If today I need you and I'm on stage, great. But look, this afternoon, I'll be holding the stage up for you, passing out your flyers, making calls for you, doing whatever I can do to serve you, getting your coffee. We got to be okay with serving and take care of your relationships. Really. That's what we're talking about.
I agree. You are listening to 3BC, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm your host, Jae Henderson, and I'm here with my guests, Miss Sherica Hymes, Leah Douglas Wooten, and Beverly Robertson.
3BC, hosted by Jae Henderson, recorded at KUDZUKIAN Studios, directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.
Hey everybody, this is Jae Henderson, the host of the all-new 3BC. If you would like to join in on today's discussion, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/3BC and tell us what you think.
Funking up your airwaves and jamming the good information in your ear. Once again, it's Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.